Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company. Drop and Give Me 20 is the podcast for military entrepreneurs. Each episode is around 20 minutes long, giving entrepreneurs a glimpse into the life of other successful military entrepreneurs, learning from their obstacles and gaining insight and inspiration. Podcast episodes focus on the stories, challenges, and wins military entrepreneurs have faced in their businesses. I am your host, Lindsay Germono, and thank you for tuning in. Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company. We are in season 6, and I cannot think of a better guest to start off this season. We just started talking shop, and I was like, hang on, let me press record. We're going to get in. I just can tell that we're going to get into it right away. Thank you guys for listening. My guest today is Corey Henderson. Corey, I would read your bio, but I always find it much more interesting for you to introduce yourself to our listeners. So take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Lindsay. My name is Corey Henderson, and I work with Stars and Stripes. I'm a multimedia consultant, and I love my job because I get to work with everyone who's interested in reaching the military. And that comes from former service members, that comes from companies that want to hire and retain service members. And then it comes from people who really just patriotic Americans who really celebrate the military community. So I love what I do, and it's great to be on here to talk to you about what the military community is about and everything that we've been doing to be involved.
We have had a couple seasons, and I know you've been a fan. I've been a fan of yours for years. This season, I wanted to talk to folks that are not necessarily, before it was entrepreneurs in the military spouse space and veteran space and active duty space, which is incredibly important and still the theme of the podcast, but it's also about the movers and the shakers within the community. So I started to realize I was leaving some really important folks out. And when I thought, who's a mover and shaker in the community, who is making things happen, but not only that, who is really passionate about it. And I couldn't have nailed that introduction any better than you just did. I mean, you really hit it in the nail on the head. It's incredibly important to us. And so I thank you from all of the folks that you've worked with in the past and will work with in the future, that your work that you do in recognizing our efforts is just, we're just really grateful for you.
Yeah, it's been really rewarding, especially since I'm kind of unique in this space. I'm not a veteran. I don't have any experience as a service member. So I've had to learn from the outside what the military community is about and just find a way to plug in. And everyone's been really gracious in teaching me, accepting me, and hopefully I can continue to give back.
You're sitting right next to us in all of the conversations. And what I really appreciate about it is you're not a sales rep who's trying to sell ad space for this publication or anything like that. There are so many folks that come into our network that you can just tell are just, kind of skeevy. You absolutely immerse yourself. You care about the issues. And I would love to kind of dig in a little bit deeper, for our listeners. I guess I'm going to do it this way. First of all, we talk a lot about coverage, and you're with Stars and Stripes. So do you get a lot of folks reaching out to you, wanting you to cover different beats and different stories that, they would benefit from?
Absolutely. I've met so many great people who have reached out, and I think you really touched on it. Relationships like that are all about networking and really getting started with a good personal relationship. And so there have been lots of ways where people have reached out to Stars and Stripes, and we have been able to, I try to coach people on how to pitch their story so that it's very attractive to our Stars and Stripes editors. So a lot of times people who come forward and contact me, and I actually would encourage that, I can help you, again, on the best way to pitch your story so that you could get coverage from Stars and Stripes or maybe any other type of publication that you're looking for. And then I've actually started a lot of great relationships that way. And sometimes it does grow into me being able to help them with advertising opportunities. So I think that's the right way to do it, whatever business. Start with networking, start with personal, and then the business relationship will come.
So we've always, when we have folks reaching out to us, we're not a public relations agency. So I tend to just go, I can give you like the bird's eye, 500 feet level, but once you really need to get into it, here are some trusted resources that I recommend for PR. But one of the things I'll say is that, warm up to the individual. Don't just, whoever responds to those solicitations. I mean, I delete them right away. And asking them, particularly what focuses that they are working on in the months to come. So, that way they can kind of leverage, well, maybe there's something that, I can contribute to that. Or if there's a certain theme of a publication that's getting ready to come out, I could pitch my business or my efforts organization to, be a good fit. So I think when you kind of cater it to that, it just makes a lot more sense. I want to ask you too, what advice would you give to somebody who doesn't really know how to pitch? Like you just kind of mentioned, like I kind of coach them through that. Could you give us some pointers for those that are listening? You can even break it down in maybe 3 tips or something like that, whatever feels comfortable for you.
Sure. So I think definitely the first step is do your homework. Um, who is the audience that you're looking to reach with your news release? And, why would this audience be excited about it? Why would they care? And then you can find the type of publications that reach that audience. You can talk to people and ask them, what do you read? What are your favorite blogs, websites, news sources? Then do a little bit of research on those and find out who are the editors. A lot of them, you can just go directly to their page, like on .com. We actually list who our reporters are and who our editors are. And you can look at stories that a lot of our reporters have done in the past. And you can tell right away, these are the beats or the stories that they're looking at and have been working on. And you can reach out to them on email. And also another tip that I like to share, reporters do a lot of hanging out on Twitter. They'll their stories on Twitter, and they'll actually, a lot of them like to get reactions about their stories on Twitter. So I would recommend make a comment or a reaction to a story that a reporter has posted on Twitter. And then you can position yourself as having an angle on it, having an expertise on it, and you can grow that relationship. And you may even become a source that the reporter goes to next time for more information on that story.
I love that. I love that tip. If anything, you use Twitter for most people are like, oh, I have to add another, social media platform to my daily regimen. And I'm like, just use Twitter for that purpose. And even LinkedIn, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that LinkedIn a little bit, but definitely I see probably 10 times the amount of media interaction with reporters and story writers on Twitter.
Awesome. So my kind of other caveat to that is, what do you tell people when you don't think it's a good fit? How do you call their baby ugly, I guess, or just tell, like, how do you break that to them?
Yeah, that's a little bit harder to do because everybody really does care about, puts passion into the message that they want to get out. So it's more about reshaping the message. Don't make it more about who you are and what you do, but make the message more about who your audience is and what they need. So a lot of the angles that I'll coach organizations to do is, again, share some of your expertise about a topic that they care about on a broader angle. For example, you could, if you're in the insurance agency, share something about the topic on a broader angle. And then your readers or your media will start to see you as an expert. And so it works the same way. people who may be interested in doing business with you will see you as an expert and turn to you the next time they want advice. I think that's a better angle than just directly going for the sale with a press release. We run news stories. We don't run info about people selling things.
Right. Right. What is, so when you started with Stars and Stripes, how long ago was that?
I started about 10 years ago with Stars and Stripes.
Okay, so tell me what's changed in the industry of, I guess print to digital, or maybe it hasn't. So I don't want to assume.
But you would definitely be right. A lot has changed with print, with the emergence of digital. So when I started with Stars and Stripes 10 years ago, we were famous for having a daily newspaper 7 days a week overseas. We actually did one separate edition for Pacific, one for Europe, and one for Middle East. And we had a little website that had, some traffic on it. So what has really changed is we've consolidated our print edition. Now we have one print edition that serves all markets overseas, which is 5 days a week rather than 7 days a week, which is still pretty impressive since a lot of papers since that time have maybe are on a monthly basis or they're totally digital now. And then as far as the digital standpoint, I don't think we've been in the forefront, but we've definitely followed the industry trend of creating a website that is going to cater to each region online, and then also creating daily newsletters, also creating social media. I don't think we've been at the forefront. I think we need to improve on being a little more innovative with digital, but we've definitely put a lot of resources into following the trends.
Every time I'm on an installation, if I see a Stars and Stripes, I kind of give you like a virtual like high five. I'm like, yes, so it's so nice because you don't see, with the exception of this one, I don't think that there are any other print publications on installations, are there?
There are a few. Some are local.
Oh,
Your command publications. There are some that are private and like in the DC area, they'll distribute at the commissary. But you're right, Stars and Stripes is really the only daily publication that goes right on the military post.
yeah. I was in the, I've seen them on base at the gym. So, there's like a front lobby or whatever if you're sitting there. And I saw people, I wish I took a picture. You know what a fail on my part. And I could have sent it to you, but there were a couple folks that were in like gym attire, and you could tell they were like waiting for somebody or whatever, and they had it like open and they were kind of reading it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what an awesome shot. And then I saw them in the medical group. So they had them in their lobbies too. So your stories are getting into not only just, the main installation front counter or whatever, but they're in the different buildings. So I just love that. And I love what you guys are doing. The focuses that you put out, are really meaningful. And to be fair, they're short and sweet and to the point. Like that's what we want. We don't have time to read a book. So it's really great. Corey, what can we do to help you, our listeners that are military spouse entrepreneurs, veteran entrepreneurs, and active duty business owners? They're listening, they're learning tips to kind of maximize their business. But what could we as a community do to help you?
Yeah, I'm glad you hit on the diversity of who we serve and who I'm interested in helping. You hit on military spouses. I'd love to be able to help military spouses to be able to find out what their options are, especially with options now that we're online, to be able to start your own business and be an entrepreneur. One of my favorite things to do is learn about military spouse businesses that are launching, that are growing, and we want to work with you to support you. One way that I do that is I like to profile a military spouse business, either on a weekly or a monthly basis, just to give a shout out, to profile them and ask the community to support them. And so I guess your question, please, if you're a military spouse, reach out to me. I'd love to learn more about it. We can I'd love to share you on social media, and then possibly we could help you with the business plan to be able to reach Stars and Stripes readers. Because I think that when you're a military spouse business starting up, your most important market is going to be the military market you serve.
I love that. See, this is why I picked you as our first one. What better message to send for season 6? I think that there's an apprehension that that some of our clients have felt in reaching out to publications because either they don't know how or they don't know what they're working on. So I just love your tips on getting to know the individuals. You can simply Google the publications. They usually list, the editors and things like that, linking up with them online. So I still think it's kind of weird to send Facebook friend requests, but I might be antiquated. So I certainly don't want to speak for everybody. However, I do think Twitter is a very appropriate medium for that. And I think LinkedIn is absolutely, much more comfortable space if I don't know you, reaching out in those platforms first. And then if you're friends and you do the Facebook thing, that's cool too. So those are, really great tips and just kind of cultivating those relationships. Before I get to the silly part of the podcast, which has nothing to do with business, is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners or anything else that you want to, any other asks that we can do for you, Corey?
Sure. And just one other aspect to like the changing technology. We also would like to work with businesses that want to target the military community. So with Stars and Stripes, we work with businesses to do that. But also, what's really exciting with new technology is we can help you with advertising that's actually going to target the military off base as well through networks. So we can target based on where military are actually setting foot with their mobile devices, tag them, track them, and then use that as part of your market. And then also military that are online every day doing keyword search targeting. We can help with that. So please let us know how we can help you. We're here to help you on how you can reach the military market.
The ad agency in me wants to add a bonus point on that. Every single media group offers some sort of geo tracking or targeting as far as activity goes. And I've always come to the like obstacle when I recommend or not recommend that to individuals is where are they pulling that data from, right? Are they buying it from another source or whatever? So I cannot think of a better way to target the military than being in with an organization that's all they do, right? So they're telling stories about military, they're covering topics, and so it just makes sense. And I'm really glad that you the ad agency in me, like I said, kind of gets excited about that stuff. And it's very hard to do that on your own. So we have campaigns that are running, and due to some of the privacy, walls that are out there, and people are trying to run Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all of the other, social media part, you can't get that granular, I don't think, because they don't have the ability to get that deep. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. What a great tip. All right. So before I get to the silly stuff, where can we connect with you? If someone's listening, they're like, dude, Corey's talking my language. How do our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, I'd be glad. I'd love to network with you on LinkedIn. And then also, you're welcome to email me. My email is henderson.corey@stripes.com.
Perfect. And we will tag that in the show notes. When we are publishing this out, we will also, tag Corey where he's on social media. So the silly part is, we were talking, I was talking with a really close friend of mine who's involved in Bunker Labs and things like that. Bunker Labs, by the way, is a really great community too. And we were talking about how buttoned up podcasts can be. So I thought it would be kind of fun for our listeners to get a little uncover that layer of our guests. And so I have some firing of, a couple questions to you. They're going to feel silly, but I just think it's a really cool part of this podcast. So, and if you hate it, I'll delete it, but I don't think you're going to hate it. So, and
I'm ready.
All right. He's ready. So favorite dessert.
Right away, what pops into my mind is cheesecake laced with chocolate, on top raspberry.
Jeez. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Corey. 10
I
o'clock
don't
in the
know why
morning.
that's on my mind.
All right. Favorite place to vacation?
It's always my last place that I vacationed. I've been on the East Coast for like 15 years. We just made it for the first time on a road trip to Maine in summer. And that
Yes.
to be, Maine has like 70 degree days in the summer, has mountains, has beaches, has beautiful coast. And then of course it's got lobster. And that was fun.
I've never been to Maine. It's on my bucket list. I have other bucket lists that, kind of come before that as far as travel goes, but I am with you 100%. I need to get up there. I've been as north as Massachusetts / Providence, Rhode Island. So that's about as far as up as that.
That's getting close.
It is. It's cold enough. I'm telling you, it's cold. They had snow in like September or beginning of October, and I'm from the South, so that's really weird to me. And I didn't know what to do with myself. All right, my last weird question, but fun one is, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh wow. I would actually, obviously a lot of things, but I remember going back to high school and I took an advertising class and I opened up the book and I saw like the glossy photos of like classic advertisements like Campbell's and all that. And for some reason I was hooked back then. I joined the advertising club and then studied marketing in college. So I would actually say I'm in some ways living the dream of what I want to
do. Something that I don't think anybody's going to say. I love this. Wait, so I guess this is kind of a sidebar, fun question. What do you feel about the show Mad Men? Did you watch that?
Yes, I hadn't seen it. I mean, when did that come out? Like 15, 20 years ago? I had seen only one episode. And then thanks to the pandemic, I was able to sit down and just burn through all of those. And Don Draper, you hate to love him, but he's the man. He's incredible.
So hold on, let me find out for our listeners that are just like, listener, don't go. Before you Google, I'm going to tell you when Mad Men came out, July 19th, 2007. So you're right on the money. It was almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Thanks to the pandemic, I caught up on so many things.
I did the same thing with The Sopranos. I'm actually in, I think, the end of season 5. What a weird thing to start talking about in our podcast, but whatever. It's my podcast, so do what I want. So the Sopranos, as you know, aired. It was a huge thing, and of course, I was familiar with it back then. I would watch episodes or whatever. But however many years later, in pandemic, I'm like, The Sopranos is on HBO Max, and so I have been like totally digging rewatching The Sopranos. And I did the same thing when Breaking Bad came out. I didn't watch Breaking Bad on air. I watched it when it came over to, I think it was like Netflix or whatever that had it. And I binged friggin' Breaking Bad. And I was like, why did I not watch this when it came out? So how fascinating. How television viewing has changed, hasn't it?
Now it's like, I don't want to start something that only comes out once a week. I don't want to.
No, and they're doing this BS where they're releasing like 4 episodes of a series, but then in order to see the 5th episode, you got to tune in. And I'm like, we're coming full circle, folks. Like, this is exactly what we just can't. Don't cut cable. This is what cable did, and TV did. So, which is really weird. I feel like we should have a side conversation about the transition of all of the traditional media and how we're just going full circle. Podcasting, for example, is radio. So, okay, we went down a rabbit hole. That was fun. Corey, you are I can't thank you enough for everything you're doing for our community. I will be in touch with you to make sure that, there are some individuals in my network that I think that, could benefit from a networking relationship with you. Please keep me posted on any future events, anything that Stars and Stripes is working on. We are your biggest fan. Drop and Give Me 20 guests. Do connect with Corey Henderson. He is a friend. I didn't actually even know that you didn't serve at any point. You fit right in. You're a family member. You're right at our dinner table every night. So thank you so much for coming on. Podcast listeners, do check out Stars and Stripes. Do connect with Corey Henderson. I will put all of that when tagging the episode. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Drop and Give Me 20. Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company, and we would love to invite you into our network of military entrepreneurs on Facebook. Just search for Drop and Give Me 20 and join the Facebook group.